Hey everybody, welcome to day 78 of the 90-day video challenge, stepping into 2020 on the right foot. We're here with you today, and barely. April has a head cold and a chest cold, I think. So she's been struggling with the nose and the congestion and all the garbage. So.
Yeah, been taking my Dayquil. Took some NyQuil earlier.
And so she's probably not going to say much. We're also getting near the end here, day 39, the 40-day prayer challenge. Holy ground. Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground. Exodus 3:5. So what today is really about is the fact that there is no place that God can't work, and He often meets us in places that we don't really expect. The first story that he puts in here, General Cecil Richardson was a retired chief of chaplains for the Air Force. And apparently he had needed to get some glasses for some time, and he kept putting it off. And then one morning he sat up in bed with an burning desire, I think inexplicable prompting was what Mark said, set up at 5:30 knowing he needed to get glasses. So he got up, he went to Denny's, he had a nice long breakfast, and he walked into the optometrist shop and checked in with the lady at the counter. And for long story short, he said, "Hey, I'm a chaplain." She said, "Oh, my husband is enlisted. He's deployed overseas. I just found out I had cancer. I asked God to send me a chaplain, and here you are."
Yep.
I mean, that's crazy. How often do those kind of things really happen? I don't know. That's never happened to me.
It depends on how often you get up and follow the prompting.
I went too many pages. There we go. He says, "These are the moments that give you goosebumps. These are the moments when you are reminded that God cares about every detail of your life. There are moments when you take off your shoes because you know you are standing on holy ground." He talks about Moses. So in the Bible, God tells Moses, "Take off your sandals, you're on holy ground," as he's talking to him from the burning bush. And there is some discussion in here about why a burning bush? Why not a thunderbolt or I should say a lightning bolt or a clap of thunder would have been a little bit more exciting. I don't know what you take from this, but I mean, for me, a bush that burns and doesn't burn up is pretty impressive.
Well, we've seen that in our yard. I wasn't impressed. I was impressed that it lived. Do you remember that?
Yeah, an electrical line fell on a bush. I don't think it's quite the same thing, though.
I know it's not, but it kind of was, because we took a video of it because it was raining, and that bush, we weren't able to get the people to the bush, and it just kept sparking, and the bush was burning. But then we thought, okay, great, this bush is finally going to be gone, because we hated this bush. And it was a crepe myrtle, and then it came back. It was like,
Yeah, it finally took our friend Robert with a track hoe to get rid of that bush. But he says that they concluded, the scholars that have talked about this, concluded that God appeared to Moses in a burning bush for one simple reason: to show that no place is devoid of God's presence, not even a bush on the backside of the desert. So just to make sure that we're all on the same page, Moses was tending sheep for his father-in-law in the quote-unquote backside of the desert because he had killed an Egyptian trying to force his way into what God was calling him to. He wasn't being patient. He took action on his own without God's help, and he ended up being out in the wilderness for 40 years. Moses spent a lot of his life in the wilderness, 40 years tending sheep, 40 years wandering with the Israelites. So,
Philip. It's all right there.
oh, were you making a cold frustration sound? Or
Yeah. Well, I caught a glimpse of me. You told me I had cold hair, and it's like, look at my hair.
It's a little late now. The next story that he put in here, I find fascinating.
This is the one where the
to
phone
believe that this actually happened takes faith in and of itself. He says he talks about author Ken Gobb. Talk about one of the most amazing prayer testimonies that Mark has ever heard. He and his family were driving on Interstate 75 near Dayton, Ohio, when they decided to stop at a restaurant. Ken's wife and children went into the restaurant while he stretched his legs. As he walked past a nearby gas station, he heard a payphone ringing. The phone kept ringing, and Ken thought it might be some sort of an emergency, so he answered it. He heard the voice of an operator who said, "Long distance for Ken Gobb." That's like Freaky Town, right? I mean, that's one of those things where you sort of hold the phone out, and you see it in movies. Real life has another deal. He says, Ken almost passed out. He said, "You've got to be kidding me. I was just walking in the middle of nowhere and heard this phone ringing." The confused operator said, "Is Ken Gobb there?" After making sure there weren't any candid cameras, he said, "This is Ken Gobb." I'm not going to read the rest of this story. To sum it up, God had given a suicidal woman who had read one of his books a series of numbers. She wrote the numbers down, looked like a phone number, so she called the number. And that number was this payphone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what are the chances of that?
It's only God.
It's like, he put in here, it's got to be like one in a cajillion or something.
I like the very last one where he walks in and talks to his wife.
He says, Ken went on to draw this conclusion. "I walked away from that phone booth with an electrifying sense of our Heavenly Father's concern for each of his children. What are the astronomical odds of this happening? With all the millions of phones and innumerable combinations of numbers, and only an all-knowing God could have caused that woman to dial that phone number in that phone booth at that moment in time." When Ken hung up the phone, he walked over to the restaurant, sat down with his family. Still stunned, he said to his wife, Barb, "You won't believe this. God knows where I am." Now, I find that story fascinating because there are a lot of times in my life when I'm looking for a moment like that. I mean, we talk about faith, we talk about following God in all of these situations. But wouldn't it be so much easier if God would just do something like that for everybody? I don't know about you, and I don't know about anybody watching this, but that story is unbelievable. That is way cool on the cool scale. That's like a 12 out of 10.
Yeah. What?
She doesn't feel well. We're lucky that she's here. There are two moments in Scripture when God gives the command, "Take off your sandals." The first one happens on the backside of the desert with Moses. The second one happens just before God delivers Jericho to Joshua. As Moses' assistant Joshua had heard the story of a burning bush 1,000 times, but as we learned the other day, no one can live off someone else's experience or someone else's story. We need our own epiphany, our own testimony. So why did God ask them to take off their sandals? An act of humility. As unbelievable as that story about Ken Gobb is and the phone ringing, I can't live off of that. You can't live off of that. We have to live off of our own stories and our own miracles. As we approach the holidays, it's a rough time around our house. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, money's tight. There's a whole lot of things that have to be done. We talk about faith. We're trying to live in faith. Sometimes we need our own epiphany. So maybe we'll get one.
That'd be awesome.
I'm sure that as you're doing your Christmas shopping, as you're doing your preparations to be with family, whether you're in a blended family or whether you're in a normal, original type family, or single or widowed or whatever, making plans at the holidays can be tough. So I'm praying that God will give you a moment where he says, take off your sandals, you're standing on holy ground, and he works through you to reach people around you. One last observation, because sometimes the obvious eludes us. The holy ground wasn't the promised land. It was right where Moses was standing. Don't wait to worship God until you get to the promised land. You've got to worship along the way. This is holy ground. This is a holy moment, right here, right now. Take off your sandals. And the thought for the day was and is, the purpose of prayer is not to give orders to God. The purpose is to get orders from God. So let me encourage you again. With all of the stress and all of the things that come with holiday preparation, take time to stop and pray. Just ask for help to get through today. Not even tomorrow or the next day or the next day. Just today. Take off your sandals. You're on holy ground right here, right now. So,
Say, not today, Satan.
I have a shirt that says that. You got it for me.
Mm-hmm.
I should have said that at lunch today. Whew. We had a company Christmas party today. Went to Tulsa. Had a lunch at a place. It was okay, but man, it hit me like a stone. Tomorrow, day 40, last day. Hopefully April feels better. She looks like she's ready to go to sleep right now.
I hope I feel better.
Tomorrow, day 40, prayer alphabet. So, one last day to be in this, and then we're going to move on, and we're going to start talking about some of the things that we've experienced in this thing we call a marriage, some of the troubles, some of the fun, some of the bad, and so you got to be willing to be open and honest, and so that's what we're going to be, and we're looking forward to it.
Are we?
Yeah.
That was open and honest, right? Maybe we're looking forward to it, maybe we're not.
So, y'all say a prayer for April that she feels better, because nobody likes having a cold. So hopefully she doesn't give it to me, because that would make me angry.
Yep.
Because it's all about me.
Give him a kiss.
No way. You sound like my Uncle Bob, except he was always facing the other way. Anyway, all right, guys. Day 78 is complete. I hope that you've had a good day. Be ready to face tomorrow, day 79. So we're getting close. We're almost, it's 11 days.
Mm-hmm.
Golly, 11 days.
Less than 2 weeks.
Crazy. So anyway.
2 weeks from today will be January 1st.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A week from today is Christmas.
Really?
Yeah.
I got to pay more attention to the calendar. All right. So you guys have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow on day 79.